Testing, testing. Looks like I got audio. Okay. Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing, or fabrication today, whatever the case may be. So today we are going to be continuing our coal forge project. It's a little bit of fabrication and a little bit of planning and ingenuity. So where we last left off, we had just finished cutting out a rectangular hole in our sheet of steel. So I took the liberty of completing this hole yesterday so that I could, and you guys probably saw it this side, it's a lot less rusty on this side than it is on this side. So I took the liberty of kind of completing this hole. It's not a perfect hole by any means, but it does actually fit our brake rotor. The bottom of it sits very nicely inside there. So it is good enough for now. So welcome in. Hey, Mahalo. Good day. So right now I do not have my any Chrome up or anything. All I have up is OBS. So I can monitor you guys on the OBS, but I'll be like looking in this direction for quite a bit. Yeah, I'll have to start up my phone for like raids and things like that. I can ban and monitor chat though. So, you know, if we get bots or anything like that, I can take care of that from here. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh, yeah, so today we are going to continue working on our coal forge project. My goal today is to take the pieces of bed frame that I have back here and cut out a frame for this piece of sheet steel. And then we are going to try and weld all of these parts together. So I want to finish the forge pan in its entirety today. That is our goal. So we're done with this hole for now because we've got our forge pan here and it's just going to drop in here. I don't want to weld it or anything like that because it'll make it a lot easier to change the forge pan when this inevitably starts melting. Because it always does and it always will. This is where the majority of the heat comes in a coal forge. So, I mean, even cast iron, it would take, you know, it will eventually start melting. So this part is done for the moment. So now we're going to frame it up. The plan is for Friday's stream that we are going to spend some time on the legs. We're going to be doing some cutting and then bending in the forge because I've got 5/8 inch square stock. We're going to shove it all the way through the back of the forge. There's actually a hole in the back of the forge. I usually cover it up, but yeah, so we'll be able to pass the entire length of stock through there to heat up that center, and then we're going to bend them into a V shape so that we can weld them onto the frame that we complete today. Let's see. Once you fire up the coal forge, does it keep going until it's all burned up? So it will keep going until it gets burned up if you let it, right? But you can also turn off the airflow and pour water over top of the coal and it'll put it out. It does cause quite a bit of smoke. So, I mean, you know, be aware of that if you're ever using one yourself. But it will go out. You'll have to monitor it for a few minutes just to make sure that there's no embers in the bottom of it that are still going. But to be completely honest, most of the heat comes from the airflow from the blower in the bottom. And so once you turn off that blower, the fire really dies down quite a lot. And so really all you need to do is dump a bucket of water over top of it, and you can put it out. If you want to keep it going, you will eventually run out of coal to burn through. As coal burns, there's impurities within most coal. And so the kind of coal that we use is bismuth coal. It burns the cleanest and the hottest. So as it burns up, you get these like popcorn-esque glass pieces that you kind of have to scoop out of the bottom of the forge every so often to make sure that you can fill with fresh coal. And another interesting thing about coal and coal forges is that when you are starting up fresh coal that hasn't been burnt at all, it actually takes extra heat to start that, and extra effort. It kind of like coked coal, which is partially burned coal, actually burns a lot better than fresh coal. So the first time we start this coal forge, it might take us a little bit of time to get that fire going nice and hot for us. I know you control the heat with airflow, but I didn't know about the fuel itself. Yeah, and I mean, part of why you keep so much coal around the edge of the fire pot is because the heat will start to kind of eat up a little bit of the outside edge of the coal, and it'll kind of dry it out and make it a lot easier for the new coal to burn. So that's why we keep a lot of coal around the edge of the fire pot, so that as you burn what's in the fire pot, you can replace it as the coal gets burned up. So you should always keep coal along your edges, even if you are like planning on ending your forging session relatively quickly. So if you've got too much clinker and you need to clean it out, and you've got to add a little bit more coal from your edge, and when even at the end of your forging session, you want to keep consistently lining the edges with coal so that it just so that the next time you light it, it's a lot easier to do it. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is my close-up camera. So because I'm planning on doing some welding today, we have put a filter on my close-up camera. So it's a variable filter, and I can turn it up and turn it down. So I have it turned down all the way to the minimum, but the ISO of the camera itself is really high, so that means that the camera will be a little bit grainy. The camera itself is trying to compensate for the lack of light that is coming through, so it compensates by adding a grainy fuzziness towards the edges. So that is going to be a thing probably today, or definitely today, probably on Friday as well, and then once we're done welding, I'll take that filter off and we'll be back to normal. But if I did not have that filter on, there is always a chance that the excessive light from the welding tip will burn out the sensor over time within the camera itself, because I use digital cameras. So let's see. So there's that taken care of. Was there anything else that I want, or any housekeeping things I was going to do before I start actually doing my work? Let's see. So I put out today's video on YouTube. It's a little bit different than my normal video. It's still stuff that I filmed while I was at the BAM conference. But instead of specifically blacksmithing equipment, this time I was able to talk to the leather people. So there was that leather apron booth. So I get to talk to him on that I think it was Saturday. And so we talked about the different styles of aprons and things like that, and his background, and what he does for a living and things like that. So the edit of his interview is up on YouTube today. Next week's video is going to be, I'm not entirely sure what it will be. That will be either the second to the last or the last BAM related video. And then we will probably have maybe a video or two from our stream. And then I have another conference that we're going to be attending. So not this weekend, so like Friday and Saturday, but next weekend. I will be going to Indiana to another conference. I will be here on Friday to do our regular scheduled stream on that Friday here in the shop. And then once my partner gets home from work, we will be packing up and heading out to Indiana. And right outside of Indianapolis. And so Saturday we will be at the Indiana Blacksmith Association, the IBA, their conference. So I may have a stream for you guys, like a live stream on that Saturday, if you guys would like to see that. It'll be kind of the same format that our stream from BAM was. So I'm really looking forward to that. Nice, that should be a good trip. Yeah, it should, I'm hoping. I already have lined up an interview with the principal demonstrator there. And his name is Nick. And so he's gonna talk to us. He does a lot of tool making. But instead of doing like blacksmithing tools, he actually does jeweler's tools. So like little like metal saws and things like that. So a lot of his work is a lot more delicate than the stuff that we do here on our channel. And it's going to be really cool. I'm really excited for it. So I'm hoping that we can do that live stream. As always, it depends on like the cell phone signal out there, because I'm at the mercy. It's outside of Indianapolis, so it shouldn't be an issue, but every once in a while, you get some weirdness in some of these locations. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So we're going to kind of start trying to mix in a little bit of, travel into the stream and the YouTube. I had a lot of fun for BAM, and I want to keep on going with that momentum. So let's see. So as far as today's stream and the work that we're going to start doing, right now I've got the sheet that we're going to use for our the plate for our table for the coal. It's very rusty on this side because this is a really old piece of sheet steel that I've had for I don't know. I bought this sheet before I got sick, so it's older than 2020. So it's really, it's not bad that there's just a little bit of surface rust on here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a angle grinder to it and kind of get a little bit of the surface rust off. So I've got a flap disc. This is 120 grit flap disc on my angle grinder, and we are going to go over the edges here and see what we can do about getting rid of some of the surface rust. I just want it to make it a little bit easier to strike the arc for that welder. Once we're done with that, we're going to cut the bed frames. I think we'll probably use the angle grinder to cut the little legs off of here, and then we'll use the chop saw to cut down to the size that we want. From there, we're gonna, start doing some welding. So let's see what we can do. I hope you brought your welding shield. You know, mine's over here. But you know, I've got you covered with my, you know, my camera, the filter on there. So you know. And I do not claim to be a very good welder. If you ever hear a blacksmith say that they're an excellent welder, I mean, take that with a grain of salt. Most blacksmiths suck at welding, except for forge welding. So, you know, I don't expect perfection from these welds, but I do my best. Gonna make some nasty rust dust peeling that off. It kind of is. But that is why, where'd it go? We have our dust mask. So I'm going to do my best to keep the dust out of the cameras, but I do have to do a little bit of this. I was planning on doing this yesterday, but by the time I got this hole done, I was just absolutely exhausted. So we'll see what we can do. If all else fails, I'll just go around the edges so that I'll get that arc. And then we'll do the rest of this at another time when I'm not on stream. So, yeah. Don't judge welds, because I'm in the same boat. I can make stuff stick together, but I'm not building any bridges. Exactly. Okay, so it looks like we've got a decent amount of view on that. It doesn't look too bad, I think. Let me move this over just a hair. Other way. There we go. Okay. Where did my headphones go? You know what? I know where they went. Where? Oh, they're on the door over there. I will be right back. My partner mowed the lawn again yesterday. And hung them on my door. Alrighty. Let's do this. That's not too bad. It's really dusty in the air, though. All right. Okay, so, I am going to turn on the shop fan for a little bit, and we're going to blow some of this dust out of here. Raw. If I can manage to get it to work. Do I have? I'm going to try this, and if we have issues, we will have, or I will turn it off. but I think we'll be all right. Okay. So that's going to kind of blow some of the dust out of the area. That way I can take off my mask and you guys can see a little bit better. Looks like we're okay on that. Okay. So, as you can kind of see, we've taken a lot of the rust right off of here. That is a really good use for these flap discs. They're really, really good for taking the dust off of things, or I guess the rust off of things. So this is actually good enough so that we'll be able to get a good spark on that. And we're going to have to go over it again if we want to spray paint this so that it doesn't generate even more rust during its lifespan. But we can do that a little bit later. I'm not too terribly worried about that right now. So, the next thing that we're going to do, that did the trick. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to take a look at these guys. These are actually supports for a flat bed frame. Now, a while back, I had a friend who was getting rid of some bed frames because she was moving out and of her place, and she was getting a brand new bed frame, like a 4-poster. So I was able to get a hold of about 2 or 3 different flat bed frames, and I actually took a lot of that material and I made a workbench out of it, and it's a great workbench. I also made a desk out of it. So the desk that my desktop computer sits on is made out of part of these bed frames. So this is kind of the last of that material that I have. So it's a really good, thick material, and it's really strong. I like it quite a bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut off the legs of these, and then we are going to cut 2 2-foot sections and 2 18 inches section, and all of that is imperial measurement, and that's going to be the support frame for our forge pan. All right, so let's see what I do with it. This is obviously, a tape measure, so I'm going to kind of one more time make sure that these are long enough. All right, so if I measure from the foot over to the foot, it looks like I have slightly more material than I need. And so what we're going to do, or we have, how much did I say that was? I didn't say that. I thought it though. I thought about it, but I didn't actually say it. So this is actually 44¼ inches wide, or like long. And so that means that we have just enough material here that we can cut off the legs, and then we can cut a 2-foot section and a 18-inch section out of each of these, because they're both the same size. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to cut the legs off, and then we're going to cut a 2-foot section and an 18-inch section, and then we'll have our frame. So let me change the blade on my angle grinder. Mound of meat. We're cutting off legs. We are cutting off legs, but they're bed legs and not people legs. So, you know, a little less violent. All right. What did I do with my cutting disc? That's my grinding disc. There's my cutting disc. I used to play World of Warcraft during the Pandaria expansion. And there was this quest. Where you crashed a ship onto an island. And you're trying to kind of gather some supplies so that you can, you know, make a base camp. And so one of the things that you ask for is an axe. And your companion asks, which kind of axe do you want? Do you want a wood cutting axe or a people killing axe? And you know, that's kind of what that made me think of, you know? Are we cutting off people legs or bed legs? And we're cutting off some bed legs. Greetings, Yankee. Hi, El Teller. Welcome in. Welcome in. We are building ourselves a frame for a forge pan for a coal forge. So the first thing that we're going to do is cut the legs off of these two pieces of bed frame so that they'll fit underneath of my chop saw. These legs are a little bit too tall, and it kind of prevents me from bringing down the blade for the chop saw over there. So that's what we're going to start with today. So again, more dust mask, because we're making more dust. Greetings, everyone. You know, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that I only have OBS up, because OBS does not have a very accurate, like, counter for how many people are actually in chat. So, I mean, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. I mean, I always get nervous when the numbers kind of fluctuate, and this way I don't know how many people are in chat, so, you know, I can't worry about that now, can I? Okay, I think I'm going to take the forge pan off of here, and I'm going to rest it over here against my bench. That way I can use the clamps to clamp these down. Make them a little bit more secure. All right. That should be good right there. Greetings, Ping. Welcome in. Yes, safety first. We want to make sure that these are nice and secure on this table bench. Always using our PPE. So we're going to cut these legs off now. One leg. Let's see. Let me change views so that you guys can see it a little bit closer. Maybe you'll be able to see a little closer. I hope so. Let's go over here. Two legs. Two legs. We'll move that over there. So now we have a nice piece of angle iron right here. And that's actually pretty decent, you know. We'll make a pretty good forge pan in this. And like I said, this should, in theory, be long enough for us to get both the 2-foot section and the 18 inches section. And that is this much right here. So we still have 2 inches of extra flex. So that's always a good thing, is to have extra material. All right, so let's set this other leg up. I might set it up this way. Alrighty. And hopefully you guys can see that. I need to move this down just a hair. I'm having a little bit of trouble with the body of the angle grinder hitting my clamp. So let's re-clamp that so it's a little bit easier to play with. Leg number 3. And here we go, leg number 4. Leg number 4. Alright, so now we have 4 of these guys that, I don't know, maybe we'll use them at some point in the future, but not for this project. So I've got 3 or 4 of them here. And I'm going to throw those over in the scrap. That way they're not floating around. Okay. Alrighty. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to mark where we need to cut these over on the chop saw. So I have my trusty piece of soapstone, and yes, I dropped it while I was while I was working on the hole for the forge pan, and this is kind of what happened. I broke it a bunch. So this is why having a soapstone holder is so important. I mean, they still do kind of crack a little bit, but you know, a little less. They survive a little bit longer. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is allow the tape measure to slap shut, I guess. So we have now marked the 2-foot section here. And we're going to mark it on this side too. So that we can take it over here to the chop saw. And that's over here, so we line up the chalk mark with the blade of the chop saw. We put the clamp in so that it won't move on us. We're going to keep on keeping on with our safety as best we can. Oop. It helps when you plug it in. So we're going to unplug this guy and plug in this guy. So now we have 2 pieces. Okay. So this guy is the piece that we wanted. So let's measure one more time to make sure that it's 2 feet. And as you can see, it is. So now we want to take this section over here. And we want to mark that at 18 inches, which is right there. Alrighty. And then we always want the shortest section of the steel to stick out from the chop saw, because it's just a lot easier for the chop saw to kind of support the longer piece. So we'll line this up real nice and pretty. And then clamp it in again. So now we have our first 18 inches piece. So we're half done with cutting the sides of our forge to length, at least. We will also have to cut them at a 45-degree angle so that they actually fit together properly. And I actually have, I think I have an or like a easy square. I will go and see if I can't find that after I've completed this one. Alrighty. So we're going to take the 2 feet off again. And we're making sure that we're measuring really carefully as we do this, you know. Measure twice, cut once, and all that. There's our second 2-footer. So if we compare our 2-footers together, they are the same length, for the most part anyway. They are close enough for our application. So now we measure this side. (18 inches). Did we get a bot ping? Is that what that was? Yeah? Okay, cool. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to be a little bit slow today, unfortunately, just because there's a lot less built-in pauses when I'm fabricating stuff, so I very much appreciate your help. I only want expensive viewers. Exactly, man. And here's our other 18-inch piece. And if we compare the two, they are close enough to the same length. So, we're going to take a little bit of a timeout and we're going to kind of compare and make sure that everything is like lining up properly the way we want it to. So let me grab the top plate and we'll move some of these guys. And then how long have we been going? We've been going for about an hour, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh my clips here real fast. Whoa. Good thing you guys weren't actually watching this camera at the time. I kind of kicked it by accident. There's that. And I'm going to refresh this guy. There we go. Ooh. All right. So now we have all of our pieces of stock for the edges. So we're going to kind of line them up a little bit. Kind of make sure that they're going to fit for us. And if I go like this, I mean, that's actually a pretty darn good fit, if you ask me. Pretty darn close. So then we can kind of stick this guy up like so. So we can kind of tell that, you know, that's going to be a pretty decent match there. We got a little bit of gap on both sides, but we'll be able to fill that with a little bit of weld bead. And then our last guy is going to go like this. Right? So we've kind of given ourselves a box on 3 sides, and then it has an open side here and in this front, and that's so that we can lay our stock inside this forge and get to the fire pot and lay it flat. But we still want that extra support from this bottom rail here. So we're going to do this upside down so we can get that nice angle iron support underneath of the plate while being able to lay our stock flat. So the next part, now that everything is lining up really, really nicely, is to kind of create 45-degree angles on the edge of these there's a skinny side and a fat side. And we're going to use the fat side for where we're going to be cutting these and having them lay underneath of the plate. That way it gives it a little bit more support. So I need to lay out 45-degree angles on all of the edges so that we can kind of create a box and have it actually stick together properly. I don't want the rails to overlap when they're stuck together, because it'll kind of compromise the strength a little bit. I want them to fit together really nicely. So I think I have my quick square in here, in this drawer, but I'm not entirely positive. What is hanging up on this? Oh. Where is it? I do not have my quick square. But I do have a trigonometry, you know, a nice, protractor. So if I can't find my quick square, we'll use this protractor. Where did it go? It moved when I was moving my shop around, I think. Where'd it go? There's one more place that I can look, and it's over there. So let me see if I can't find it over there. And I found it. This guy right here. It's like a square, I guess. So if I undo this guy, I can kind of give it a 45, like so. Okay. All right, so now we have a natural 45-degree angle, just like so. Because there are denotations in here where that 45 is. So we've got a right angle on that square. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it on this side. So that we can draw that right on there. I think. Maybe it's going to go this way better. It might go this way better. I don't know. Give me a second. I got to figure this one out. It's been a while since I've played with this. Well, it doesn't go that way. It goes this way. That's how it goes. One of these days. Okay. So we give ourselves a little bit of room so that we can get the piece of chalk in there. So if you look straight at that, you know, there's kind of a gap there. But if I take that away, the line goes to that corner, and that's exactly what we want to see. So we're going to do that on all 8 corners. Hello, Abidocious, welcome in. Also, thank you so much, Moonshine Bespoke Works, for that follow. I'm doing excellent today. We're working on making a coal forge. And right now I am making the edges of our forge pan. So kind of how this works is we've got these nice edges, and all of these pieces of angle iron kind of sit underneath of here. But I need to be able to weld them together in the corner. So I need to cut off the 45s on these guys, just like so. So that way, they will all sit nicely together. So that's what we're doing right now. Okay. See if I can hold this down here while actually allowing you guys to see. And, you know, giving myself enough room because I'm right-handed. There we go. You guys can kind of see that now. All right, so we kind of have a a trapezoid going on here. So, you know, we've got that 45 there, that 45 there. We'll cut those off using the angle grinder over here. But I'm going to put the angles on every corner as we go so that I can do them all in one go. I would love to have a coal forge. My neighbors probably wouldn't, though. Yeah. coal forges can be a little bit on the dirty side. My neighbors very much appreciate the fact that I am normally a gas forge girl. However, sometimes you just need to use coal, you know? Now I gave myself a gap, and then I somehow figured out a way to get the chalk closer, so I gotta be a little careful of that and make sure that my 45-degree angle ends in that corner. So you can see that I've now got 2 lines, so we're gonna kind of erase that line there. And now we're gonna work on this edge. This direction. It would help if I was doing this, you know, properly. It's a lot easier to do this flat on the table, but you guys couldn't really see it as well, so we're gonna try it this way. Alright, so now we have 2 all nice and marked up. So we're gonna start working on these ones now. Maybe I'll do it this way. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. Some days I think I do, and other days, you know, I wonder about myself a little. Okay. That seems to be working pretty well. I've done it again, found a way to get this closer to the edge. Okay. This side now. I hope you guys can see this because I feel like I'm going through some craziness, and if you can't see it, then I'm gonna be like, I will feel really stupid. So now we have the first one of these guys ready. And then the last one. So yeah, coal is a very dirty substance. So you got to be really careful where you're doing it or where you're using coal, because you really don't want it to smoke out your car. If you're like doing it in your driveway, I'm going to use this to prop it up a little bit so I don't have to hang on to it as badly or as nicely, I guess. There, that's much better. So yeah, the first time I did coal forging, I kind of covered my truck in soot. And I kind of regretted that a bit. Not something I want to really repeat. Definitely something to be cautious of. Alright. So we now have all of our 45s laid out on each piece of our edge stock. So the next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking the angle grinder and we're going to be cutting those off as close to this line as possible, because we want to make sure that we keep that 45-degree angle. And because we're not using a backstop or anything like that, it makes it a little bit harder to keep on that 40 or that perfect 45. So I'm going to move a few things around and make it a little bit easier on myself. Let's try not to drop it again. Where did I put it? I put it right here. So we're going to take these out here like so that I have plenty of room to get that angle grinder in there. Alright, it should work very beautifully. I have no idea why, but I feel like our stream is a little bit more stable since I've been over here. I'm not entirely sure why that is. We haven't had any storms lately. It's been really nice, so I mean, there's partly maybe. But overall, I'm not entirely sure. But I'm really thankful for it, so we're going to do the best we can as we're here. Or while we're here, I guess. Okay. So, once again, safety. Since we're doing more cuts. More cuts, more cuts. Yeah, very stable. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. And now that I've said that I'm extra stable, you know, that's totally the time when it's going to start dropping off. So knock on wood, you know, that we don't drop out. Okay. And once again, you are going to be seeing a little bit more grainy of a shot. Right now, I have a dark filter on the close-up camera, which is the one that you're seeing right now. And the reason I do that is because I need to make sure that I don't ruin the sensor on that camera. So when I'm welding later on. So let's try. Oh, it helps when you plug things up in, guys. You know, power is really nice. And it helps tools function. There we go. Haha, let's do this. And I kind of screwed that one up just a little bit. Not too bad. We'll be able to fix that with the welder. But we got to be more careful. More careful. This one's going to be a little bit awkward because I want you guys to be able to see it. I got some new plan, guys. I got some new plan. We're gonna do it this way. It's gonna be a lot easier if I do it this way. You know? Work smarter, not harder. If the joint doesn't line up, blame the welder, right? That's how that works. That works so much better, guys. This is what happens when you think about things before you just do them. Problem solving and thinking things through. Stuff that I always forget to do. Alright, let's do this. Aha! 2 down. 2 to go. Thinking ahead is for squares, isn't it? I have this habit of just like straight up Oh, Nelly, you guys might get to see a shredding disc that I can kind of feel a little bit of a kickback on this disc. When they start to get all nice and worn like this, you can kind of start seeing that fiberglass, or like the fiberglass fibers in this. So when it starts to do that, it gets worn, and if you're put too much pressure on it, they'll shred. So hopefully I am, smart enough not to do that. But I've definitely done that in the past, and it is something you definitely need to be careful of when you are using an angle grinder. I guess we don't talk about stream stability anymore. Okay, now. Oh, is that what happened? I'm so sorry, guys. It seems like it's all right now. It's because I wasn't looking at it. All right. Oh my god, guys, you know what I forgot to do? I totally forgot to start recording my sound. Oh well, I can use the VOD sound. Jeez. I hope the sound is alright. Mostly. Otherwise, I can definitely do a voiceover when I do this video. All done. And that, my dears, is why I buy angle grinder blades by the dozen. Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad that it was only a tiny waver. I didn't even notice, so, you know. Alright. So now, we have a whole bunch of, what do I want to call these? These are trapezoids. So now we have a whole bunch of trapezoidal pieces of angle iron. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to kind of lay them out. So we'll move this guy. I'm going to bring this guy up again. Stick this on top of here. That on top there. This on top of here. And that just like so. Alright, and that's honestly, that's not a bad fit, if I'm being completely honest. There's a little bit of gap on the corners, but if we were to weld inside of here, we can actually take a hammer and kind of bang these together once we've got a good secure hold in these corners. So we've got our frame all nice and taken care of, lined up and everything. So now we are to the fun part. Let's go over that. Yep, we're definitely to the fun part. 30 FPS is overrated anyway. Ugh. We are dropping frames. Again. Okay, I think we're up again. Goodness gracious. It's totally because I was talking about how I thought we had pretty decent frame rate, isn't it? Goodness gracious. So before anything else, I want to make sure that this guy lines up completely and totally. so that this sheet will actually fit and sit inside of this rail system that we've got here. The last thing that I want to do is weld this up and have it have the sheet not fit. So I'm going to do my best to kind of tack it, and then we'll pull the sheet out and finish welding these corners. And we're dropping frames again. Can you guys hear me? Do. Because of course, you know, of course. We're dropping all the frames.